Actually, I'm a business owner here in Oxford, have been for over 20 years. One of my interests is I am one of the larger landowners in the village, actually, with 52 plus acres. And I don't want to be disadvantaged by a moratorium in the village. And actually, my question would be, basically is, why would you want to pursue imposing a moratorium in the village of Oxford with all the regulations that already exist? I don't understand why there's a need for it, and if I could get some kind of an explanation as to why y'all would be looking that direction. And one of the things that also with the planning board and reference and stuff, I talked to one of the planning board members tonight, and he thought the meeting was tomorrow night, and they didn't really have a clue what was going on. They hadn't made a determination. So at any rate, could you all explain to me why you would even consider imposing a moratorium?
Well, like I said before, we're planning on having a recommendation from the planning board that then squarely puts this into the village board's lap. We're responding to a number of people that came in to us in June, late June, early July, bringing this particular issue to our attention and wanted us to consider a moratorium. So in the meantime, we're out trying to gain more insight than we probably had before, and to sit here tonight and try to justify why we would or would not entertain a moratorium is probably not doing a service for everybody, because I'm certainly will say on my own, probably something that somebody will take exception to, because we've got an awful lot of people in the room that have spent a lot of time on it, that would, then we'd start getting into a debate tonight, which I don't know would be all that productive. In general, I think it's probably because of the Middlefield decisions and that type of thing that actually told us in February or March that in effect, for all the periods of time, at least in the recent past, municipalities have been led to believe that they really had no rights, that they were superseded by the state. And I can't tell you how many times I've read that EC 303 language. So whether those two court cases hold or not, I'm not sure. They're going to be appealed, I'm sure.
Yes.
They got time to do it. So one is, up until February of this year or early March, we were operating under the assumption we really didn't have a say, even though it was in our zoning that says that's not a permitted process, at least in the village, if you want to interpret that our way. So the second thing that happened is the governor, in sometime the second or third week in June, I forget the exact date, led everybody to believe through some press releases that yes, indeed, he didn't get into the court cases, but he got into the idea that if municipalities took a particular position, that they would indeed be listened to in the permitting process. So part of it is the fact to say that does the village have its sovereign rights to some degree? I understand the landowner's point of view, so without getting into a lot more discussion tonight that I probably will put my foot in my mouth, that's the basis why we're considering.
Okay.
We were asked to, for one.
Okay.
And we're trying to learn enough to be able to make an informed decision, because either decision is probably not going to make somebody happy one way or the other.
Yeah, well, no doubt about that. And I would ask you not to impose it versus those that asked you to impose it. And one of my real concerns about that is the amount of weight that's put on the planning board's recommendation. They had basically 2 nights that they listened to 2 opposing attorneys speak on that. Some of the members, not all the members were there for both of those meetings even. And not all the village board members were at either one or the other. You yourself was, and I appreciate you doing that. I would have liked to have seen everyone from the village board actually at the town board meeting at the school. It would have been, from my perspective, very advantageous for y'all to be there and get a little preview of what was coming and maybe build some from there. But I would be really concerned if too much emphasis was put on the planning board's decision, because I do not understand how they could possibly be determined in a matter of hours what the state is still working on 4 years hence. Okay.
It's going to be part of the process.
Okay.
If we didn't turn it over to the planning board, if we didn't allow the planning board to take their rightful responsibilities to
Okay.
at least consider it and look at it, we'd be doing the wrong thing.
Okay, I would just hope that you would look at it in those terms of like, how did you make your decision and,
Well,
you know, how legitimate it is, so.
I'm sure this is gonna be done
More
in a-
emphasis, yeah, it's
in
not
an open
open,
mic.
for sure, okay. Thanks, there's other questions, so that's probably my time, appreciate it, thank you.
Someone else?